Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble. Thursday night is now probably my favorite night of doing the Ramble because I'm joined by my co-host, Evan Watallison. And we had our preview on the phone talking about what we were going to say, and I got all excited about it. I got caught up in an accident. But I'm going to get right into it because Evan and I tend to ramble, and we're going to do two sections tonight. First section is going to be the Packer preview and also the Packer recap. And then we're going to do an episode 2, which is going to be Twitter talk. And we got 3 good topics to discuss in that. But I'm going to get right into it because Evan and I could ramble probably for about 2 hours on the Packers. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, Evan. I mean, I was thoroughly impressed on Sunday with the way the Packers came out on both sides of the ball. But I want to get your recap of the game on Sunday against the Redskins.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to join you. And Packers did do a lot of things. Well, Rodgers threw for 480. Jones and Cobb both had 100 yards receiving. Nelson had 2 touchdowns. Finley had a touchdown. Starks ran for $132. Mike Neal came up with an interception. But there's one thing that really, stood out to me on Sunday, and that number is 295. Out of Rodgers' 480 yards passing, 295 were after the catch, so yards after the catch. That's the most the Packers have had since 1992. So, if you look at early on, the first 2 drives of the game, Rodgers got sacked 3 times. He didn't get sacked again until the third quarter. The Packers started going with the quick strike passing game to get the ball up quickly, and the Packers receivers made plays. So, Rodgers gets all the attention this week with his 480, but Jones, Cobb, Nelson, Finley, and Starks, he had some nice catches, and he ran the ball really well. Those guys who highlight the game for me.
Well, I'll totally agree, Evan. And when you look at the output from the receivers, it was 3 100-yard receivers, if I'm correct.
They had 2.
2?
Jones was 178, Cobb was 128. Then Nelson had 66, and Finley had 65.
Okay, my bad. At least, we had 2 that had huge amounts of yards, and I agree with you. Yeah. If you look at where the pass distribution went, a lot of run after the catch, and that is great to see because that means they're getting separation or breaking tackles, which bodes well as we move forward with the schedule. And when we look at the type of teams we're playing, and you and I will get into this when we talk about the Bengal game coming up, that could be a key to the game as to how many yards are we getting after the catch. Would you agree with that?
I agree completely. You look at the Bengals, they were kind of similar to the Redskins in many ways. Like, they have a strong front four. The big difference is the Bengals actually have corners that can cover people. But I don't think the linebackers for the Bengals can keep up with Cobb and Finley. So I see a big day from Cobb and Finley, similar game plan. Let's throw short, let's throw quick, get the ball out, keep Rodgers upright. And if they do the same game plan, I don't see why the Packers can't win.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, that short passing game, and so I'm going to switch us back to the Redskin game, and we kind of talked about this a little bit. I think that short, quick passing game opened up the running game for Starks this week. And, let's talk a little bit about, how he got his yards. And I had mentioned to you, was it our offensive line making all the right assignments, or was it a mediocre Redskin defense that allowed us to have those holes? And I know where you're going to go with this, but I think the listeners need to hear what you said, because I think it was a very valid point that passing game opened up the opportunity for us to get those big chunks of yard in the running game.
Yeah, I think, part of it was the line was blocking pretty well, but I think one of the biggest reason was the Redskins get after the quarterback. That's their specialty. And when you're having those quick throws like that, you kind of put the D-line back on their heels a little bit. And when the D-line is unable to attack the line of scrimmage, that's an advantage to the offensive line. So the offensive line is at that advantage right there. So when they do run the football, they're controlling the line of scrimmage. They're getting the push and start finding the hole. So I think the short passing game is what really opened up that that running game. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. And I'll tell you what, I was impressed with James Starks. I mean, he looked like a different running back this game than he did all of last year. It looked like he had that playoff spark back where he was hitting holes fast. And you and I talked about it, though. He probably even left some yards on the field after that Eddie Lacy injury. But I think he really attacked the hole when it was there. He wasn't getting happy feet. He wasn't dancing around in the hole. He was hitting the hole. He was hitting it hard. And I thought that he did a really good job finding every one of those holes the offensive line opened up for him.
Yeah, I agree. And he better be ready for 20 touches again this coming Sunday because Pats are going to be without Lacy. Cohen's been dealing with I think it's a hamstring, so it's basically going to be Starks and Franklin on Sunday. So Starks better be ready for another 20-plus carries.
Yeah, I was quite surprised, and I'm going to love to hear your take on this. I was quite surprised that we didn't see Jonathan Franklin in the game at all. I mean, I thought he was going to get some touches after the injury to Lacy. What do you think was the cause of that? I thought he was ready to get in, maybe at least get in on third down, and maybe get into the passing game, but I didn't see much of him, and so why do you think that was?
Well, I think the biggest reason is you got to ride the hot hands. You have to ride the hot hand. Starks is hot. He's running well, running hard. He's dominating. If you switch out and put Franklin in there, you're risking cooling Starks off. And, you don't want to do that. It's, like in baseball, if the starting pitcher, pitching dominating stuff, and then you decide to switch right away, you might, the other guy might not be as hot, and then you could have problems. So.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think Franklin is going to have a bigger role this game? Do you think they're going to get him in on maybe some of those third down situations, or do you think it's going to be dictated by the game?
I think Franklin's going to get more touches. I don't think he's going to see a lot of third down touches because his pass blocking is one of his weaknesses. That's what he struggled with during camp. But I think you're going to see more Franklin, and mainly because if Kuhn is at 100%, and Lacy's out, you're going to have somebody spell Stark because they're not bringing another back in. And McCarthy even hinted this week that, you expect to see a little bit more Franklin this week.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize how big that injury to Kuhn is. I think it might be one of our biggest injuries. I mean, I know Lacy's out, and we've got high hopes for Lacy, but I think we've got a good backup in Starks that can carry the load. But I don't, and even, we talk about Burnett being out on defense with and McMillan coming in, but I thought McMillan played okay on Sunday, so I'm okay with that. But really, I mean, when we look at it, that injury to Kuhn could be very important because he doesn't get a lot of carries, he doesn't get a lot of catches, but he does very good in his pass protection.
Yeah, I don't think the loss, I don't know if Kuhn's going to play for sure or not, but if he doesn't play, I think, the fact that we don't have Lacy is going to make it hurt even more. I think if Lacy was healthy, good to go, I don't think not having Kuhn would hurt as bad, but yeah, it's definitely going to make a hit.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, again, he's questionable, and, nobody's been actually ruled out, but except for Lacy, I think. But even on the injury report, he's listed as questionable. I mean, he's got to go through the concussion test and get all that clearance and all that good stuff. But everybody I was going to say, everybody on the injury report that I saw today was listed as questionable. Nobody's been ruled out for sure, but you and I both know, we were talking before, Burnett's probably going to be out till after the bye. Lacy's probably out till after the bye, so we're just going to have to move forward with that. It would be nice if Kuhn could suit up, but going on that, we talked a little bit about the defense and McMillan, and we had mentioned last ramble, he's going to have a full week with the first team, get some reps. I thought he played pretty well, as did that whole defense when it came in the first half to shutting them down. What do you think the key was in that first half, Evan, for us to be able to shut the Redskins down like we did?
I think it was just the aggressiveness, especially from the defensive line, from your Raji, from your Jolly, from your Neal, from your Jones. I think just that aggressiveness up front bottled down, it bottled down the Redskins offense. Morris did have over 100 yards rushing, but he did it very quietly. He had a couple big runs that really, got him those yards, and then they got pressure up the middle and made Griffin uncomfortable. And I was very impressed with the defense, but I didn't really like the fact that they, in the second half, dogged a little bit. They stopped sending them.
Yeah, you and I talked about that. I mean, I'm sitting here at halftime going, man, let's pitch a shutout today. Let's keep that pressure going.
Awesome.
It would have been great because you and I talked about it in the last ramble. The Redskins center guard play is terrible. And we did exactly what we thought they'd do. They blitzed up the middle. They made RG3 uncomfortable, and it was evident. And that game, and I'm going to give our Packer D some credit. Our game plan, the way that we handled RG3, has now started the national talk that they should, some people are saying, should they bench RG3? So since we got a couple minutes, what is your thought on that? I thought it was just ridiculous. How are you going to bench RG3? But that was the talk on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, I wouldn't bench him. He needs to start getting comfortable playing football. He's not comfortable yet. It takes time. And if he didn't get any reps at all in preseason, which was a big mistake that Shanahan did. He should have at least played in game 3 and 4. Something I'm actually agreeing with Skip Bayless about. It's shocking to me because I never agree with him.
You're actually agreeing with Skip. You're actually going to agree with Skip.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, but it happens every now and then. What can I say? He does make a good point once every blue moon, I guess.
Yeah, it is a good point. He should have played in the preseason because they're doing exactly what we said. You make RG3 uncomfortable, and it shows. He's not back. He may say he is, but he's just uncomfortable. That injury is still looming. He needs to get back and play football, and it'll come.
Yeah.
It'll come. It's just hard right now.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson kind of ruined the ACL tear for everybody with how quickly he came back and how successful he was so quickly. He kind of ruined that for everybody.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, though. Adrian Peterson, even though he's on the Vikings, that man is a beast. I mean, that guy is just one heck of a running back. I don't even think he's human sometimes. And, he did. He ruined it for everyone that he came back so quick. And so now every athlete thinks, I can be back for next season. That's crazy talk. It is really crazy talk.
Yeah, typically with the torn ACL, from what I've heard, from what I've seen, what I've observed, it usually takes a full year before you're totally back. Like, you can play on it that next year, but you're still not the same, which kind of makes me scared about Peterson if that's the case. But okay, that's another topic for another ramble, though.
Yeah, you and I talked about that. When I played, it took me 2 years to come back to be the player I was before the injury. So I'm looking where we're at. We got about 1.5 minutes to kind of preview the game and for the Bengals in the upcoming weekend. And you and I talked about it, but I'm going to have you give your quick preview of the Packer Bengals.
Kind of gave it a little bit already earlier on. I think the Packers keep attacking with the short passing game. It opens up the running game, and if the Packers can do that and keep Rodgers upright, I don't see how they don't win. I'm going to say Packers 31, Bengals 17.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Offensively, that's what we got to do. Defensively, the one concern I have is, can we get pressure on Dalton? They have a pretty decent offensive line. They picked the blitz up very well. So are we going to be able to get to Dalton? That is my one concern on defense. I'm not real concerned about the running game. I think we can shut that down. And I think Green's going to get his yards, but we just got to get some pressure on Andy Dalton to make sure that he is forced into making some bad decisions. I think the Packers are actually going to pull this off, and I'm going to say 35-24 is my prediction with that. And with that said, folks, I hope you enjoyed tonight. Evan, thanks again for co-hosting. We're going to get into Twitter talk here in episode 2, but we'll see you at the next red light, everyone. Talk to you soon.